Okay, so Alicia just went over a lot of the roles and responsibilities and powers of the board supervisors, and we're going to take just a couple of minutes to touch a little deeper into the ethics question. So there's an ethics guidance policy from 2003 that a supervisor holds a public office, although not required by the State Ethics Commission to file disclosure forms, is still required to act ethically and honestly in discharging his or her responsibilities. So there's three components to this. So first, a supervisor must avoid using his or her office for personal gain. We talked about that a little bit earlier as well. But a supervisor shall not use his or her position to gain priority or additional benefits which are not available to others or in connection with private business ventures. A supervisor will not use information obtained in the course of a supervisor's official duties for personal gain. A supervisor shall not solicit a personal gift or accept a personal gift from a person or businesses that are under the jurisdiction of the district, that are negotiating or doing business with the district. This prohibition does not apply to meals, beverages, gifts less than $50, or gifts solicited on behalf of the district or an activity sponsored by the district. The second component of this is that a supervisor shall ensure the highest standards of conduct and competence for all who administer or deliver service in district programs. I think that definitely falls under some of the board responsibilities that Alicia just outlined. And last, a supervisor shall avoid any conflict of interest and disclose promptly to the Board of Supervisors any financial or other matters that appear as a conflict of interest. So disqualification, a supervisor shall not participate in matters the outcome of which would have a direct economic impact on the supervisor, his or her spouse, siblings, parents, or children. A supervisor shall not participate in matters concerning any business entity to which the supervisor is an officer, director, trustee, partner, employee, or a partner to an existing contract. Or an exemption may be made if there is not a quorum, that there is no other official who may act, or if the nature of the conflict is disclosed to the board and is minor. And then prohibited employment or financial interest. A supervisor shall not have outside employment or any financial interest that would impair the impartiality or independent judgment of the supervisor. A supervisor shall not have financial interest that may cause them to be perceived as benefiting in a manner distinguishable from the public generally because of the performance or non-performance of the supervisor's official duty. And exceptions include when the outside employment or interest would not affect the supervisor's official duties and is necessary in order to obtain uniquely qualified supervisors. And this prohibition does not apply to employment held at the time of appointment that is disclosed to the board. Okay, and I wanted to read those specifically just to make sure that we walked through it correctly. But Alicia, I know you and I had talked about this and in relation to the rest of the presentation here and the powers and the duties of board supervisors. But one of the questions that I imagine would come up with this particular guidance is that a lot of supervisors, whether they're farmers or landowners in general, do benefit directly from the programs of financial and technical assistance that's offered by the districts. And so I just wanted to touch on that really quickly in terms of what specifically constitutes a conflict of interest and how some of those conflicts of interest are handled at the district level to avoid any issues.
Sure, great questions. And we recognize, obviously, that when we're asking someone to serve in a supervisor capacity, they're coming with an interest in conservation. They may very well be a farm operator themselves. So to assume that they would not also take advantage of financial and technical assistance through the district is an important thing to make a distinction. So supervisors can participate in any number of programs offered at the federal or state level. So whether that be EQIP or MAX, the state cover crop program, you absolutely can still participate in those programs. What we're suggesting by this policy is that the reviews and approvals of some of those, for example, the application materials that may be being signed by district manager, the claims for payments, when those receipts and accounts of the actual, value of the program, the contracts themselves being reviewed, that level of review and approval may not be done within the board itself. We would ask for some independent oversight. So what we often see is that if a board of supervisor is participating in a program, rather than the district manager of that board, being the signatory, they would send it to the adjoining district. So that a different, independent, if you will, district manager would be reviewing any of the materials, and then they offer the signature and approvals. So as to create a distinction within the board and the acting district itself.
Perfect.
Yeah. And I'll add on the outside employment, we increasingly see supervisors who are coming into the district and wanting to serve with the supervisors that may not be strictly agricultural backgrounds or farm operators. And we encourage that. We're actively looking, I think, for folks who are bringing additional insight and conservation expertise. And so there's nothing that would prohibit a certain type of employment as being a board supervisor, the one distinction being that office of profit that we defined earlier. But if someone is in the private sector, that's not to say they can't be a board supervisor. Again, it's disclosing where your either family connection to a particular business or your own financial interest in a private company or private work that you may be doing could interact with board activities and actions, and just being very forthright about what that is, and if there's any conflict or perceived conflict that we're avoiding that, and again, the optics of anything being impartial. That's what matters.